As you've gotten to know Joe's defense, who have you kind of identified as maybe the best fits for that star position?
Well, to me, I think we got about 4 or 5 guys, and we're going to roll them through. We got some good players here, and that's going to give us a chance to see how many guys can actually really dominate at that position. And eventually, after it's over, before the season start, I think we would home in on 1 or 2 of those guys.
That's Hopkins.
Hey, Jerry, when Eric ends up being the first-round pick, it's always exciting sometimes you had a guy that type of caliber into your room. What was sort of your reaction to him? What do you think you're working with in that young?
Well, number one, you got a good young man who you've shown on film that he actually worked to get a spot at the University of Georgia. When I got a chance to talk to him and look at over his career, he wasn't a 5-star guy. He was a guy that was just grinding, got a chance to actually start his last year, which was really a good sign. He didn't have a negative attitude about the other guys. And again, when you look at him, there was 2 other first-round draft picks really in front of him. Tyson was a 5-star guy who played on one corner, and then the other corner who got drafted in the first round went to the Giants. So, I think he's going to be a good football player for us. The first thing he has to do is understand how to play in this league, and I think he has the attitude to do that. It's going to be special teams. You got to go out there, really set the tone there, and then you earn a spot on the defense. You earn other things, and I think he has a great attitude that with his background, he will be able to do that.
Hey, Jerry, going back to Stokes, he was a bit grabby at Georgia. I mean, even some of his breakups and stuff there, he was grabbing. How is that a concern, and how do you weed that out of his game if it is a concern?
Well, no, it's not a concern to me. I think a lot of times when you look at guys who really don't know how to press and run and regulate their speed, they tend to grab to stop. But, I got a couple of things that I've done in the past. I put boxing gloves on guys. Guess what? You can't grab then, so you have to learn how to cover with your feet. And that's one of the things that I did. And, if I can get the same thing that I did when I was in Minnesota out of Xavier, then, the sky's the limit. And that's the one thing that young guys are going to fight at the beginning because they're used to grabbing. And I got to create a new habit that, hey, look, you have to learn to cover with your feet and your hands are extra. And I think once they realize that, they become better football players.
Hey, Jerry, good to see you again. Can you talk about Shamar? I mean, the small school, you had him on the field for a couple of days. How you feel, he fits in at this level?
Number one, I really like his smarts. He's a smart football player. He's very crafty. He understands what we're trying to get him to do. We put him out at corner. We put him also at the star. So he understands he's not busting a lot. So that's going to give us a lot more, chances to put guys in different positions. And, to me, again, you could be from a small school, but I really love the way he competed. When you watch the film, you turn the film on, he's always somewhere around the ball. He was getting after it. He was doing what he's supposed to do. So, to me, I think he's only a small school until he got to Green Bay. And now you're just like everybody else.
Hey, Jerry, Kevin King's last outing was, probably not his best. How do you make sure that there's no scar tissue from that? And how can he learn from that championship game experience?
Well, to me, I think, a lot of good football players have to go through something in order to become great. And when I talked to Kevin, I talked to him about, where do you want to go? The good thing is that Kevin is healthy. He's ready to go this offseason. He's actually here, when he doesn't have to be here, which is a good sign that he wants to work. He's trying to get the thing that he wants to get done. We kind of set some goals down, and hopefully he's kind of, working to that. And I think that, just with him being here has given us a chance to say, okay, he's serious about what he's trying to get done. And as far as scar tissue, really, I think as a defensive backs, you kind of grow up and say, hey, you got to have the shortest memory in the game because you can make a play and they're going to come at you. You can lose a play and they're going to come at you. But there was only one play. So I don't think he has to be able to carry that around. You know what? It's going to be 2021. We're going to line up against someone else next year, and hopefully he gets the job done.
Jerry, after the season Jaire had last year, where do you see areas for him to improve? I'm sure there are some, even though they may not be obvious to us, but where can he take the next steps in his game?
Well, to me, I thought he had a great last game, and, the biggest thing that he has to do is, number one, I would look and say, okay, what do you want to compete and where do you want to be. We've communicated a couple of times about his goals also, and the thing that I've told him is his biggest problem is going to be him. And right now you're sitting on top of the mountain. You're one of the top corners in this league. How do you get back there? And there's going to be steps that you have to get back there to do. And, it's not easy because everybody's going to be going at you now. They may not throw the ball at you early, but I think, with Kevin doing what he's supposed to do and the other guys doing what they're supposed to do, the ball is going to come back there. And you have to be ready to go, because if not, if they see any kink, in your game, then they will start throwing back at you. So, he has to be ready. He has to fight, being an all-pro right now. And that means, can I go out there and do it again? And then, people say, well, it's not luck. He actually knows how to become an all-pro football player and do it more than one time.
When you've got a player with Eric's speed, how rare that is, do you have to coach him any differently just because he's got a different set of skills? I mean, is it different coaching a player with 4.25 speed at that position?
No, one of the things that, just over my career, I've been kind of blessed to have coached Trey Waynes, who's pretty much the same way. Trey could run like 4.26, really fast guy. So one thing you don't do is you're not afraid of putting them out on the edge and leaving them against fast wide receivers. The thing you have to do is teach them how to regulate their speed, because every play is not a go. So these guys who can really run fast, they can actually get to their top speed in the 4 or 5 strides. So you have to teach them how to regulate it and not get top speed every time, and then that way they can actually play better on the intermediate and underneath routes, other than guys, saying, hey, they're going to play the go, I can't run the go and I can run routes. So my job is really to teach him how to regulate his speed. Every play is not going to be a go. So learn that, you can outrun guys in this league, so take a little bit more chances than you would normally would.
Time for 2 more questions. Go to Olivia Reiner.
Hey, Jerry, I don't think we've talked to you since your promotion and the addition to your title and passing game coordinator. What added responsibilities do you have now, and how does this new opportunity allow you to put your own stamp on the passing game?
Well, I mean, to me, I think, with Joe and his defense and, just the knowledge of the game, just going out there, hopefully, I know we finished like somewhere like number 9 last year in the NFL. And my job is to see if we can get to number 1. I know that's a big, tall tale, and it's not just the back end. I think it's the D-line, the linebackers, and the secondary. But the biggest thing we want to do is I want to make the defense better. And however way I can do that, that's what my role is going to be.
Last question, Bill Heber.
Jerry, what happened to Josh Jackson? I mean, he played a lot his rookie year. Obviously, you weren't here for that, but then last year he couldn't get off the bench.
Well, last year I think he started maybe 5 football games. I think we went 2 and 3 in those games. So Josh played some games. The biggest thing that we got to get Josh to do is, again, I think it's more confidence than anything. But sometimes you can't force guys to do certain things. I think Josh is going to be fine. Biggest thing we got to make sure we get with Josh is, hey, look, there's a lot of good football players here. It's going to be competing. We're going to compete every play. And, even in practice, we're going to compete. And we got to make sure that those guys are ready to go when they get a chance. But, again, I wouldn't discount Josh, in saying that he didn't play, because if you look at it, I think he started 5 football games.